Alrighty, good Wednesday morning, Mid-Michigan. I'm First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro checking in here on your First Alert forecast and especially talking about some traffic out there as well. It certainly has been quite a morning so far with the snow that has moved through. Now, I'll say even right now, while we still have some slick areas, we actually are seeing some improvement compared to where we were earlier this morning. And as we go throughout the remainder of this Wednesday, we do expect conditions to only continue to improve from here. So if you still had to go to work today, your drive home will be far better off than earlier this morning. In fact, I'll take you to downtown Flint right now. There's a live look across the bricks of Saginaw Street. You can still see a little bit of slush in the left-hand turn lanes. Overall, just kind of wet and drizzly. There's even a little bit of snow falling there as well. So certainly is still a bit wintry out there, which is going to lead to some continued slow spots. But at least we are still in a little bit better shape than we were earlier this morning. That's also I-75 at Miller Road in Flint Township. You can see there I-75 is pretty wet, but you can pretty clearly see the lanes of travel, so that's definitely some improvement as well. Now here's downtown Saginaw, live from the Dow. So we still have snow falling currently. This is actually kind of that last wave of snowfall as the final axis of this system sweeps across mid-Michigan. So going into the early afternoon today, we will see all of the snow coming to an end as the storm system eventually leaves mid-Michigan. But you can still see on Johnson Street there in the foreground, we do have some snow in the left-hand turn lane and even still some snow in between the tire tracks as well. So some surface streets like that are still certainly going to be a little bit more slick as we go throughout the remainder of this morning. I'll take you over to our drive times currently. Just want to highlight this. This is also actually definitely better than it was earlier this morning too. Now I-75 between Saginaw and Flint, still not up to normal speed just yet. It's still only 60 miles per hour. US 10 from Clare to Midland, that's a 75 mile per hour freeway, only traveling at 64 miles per hour, and then 75 through Bay County from Standish to Bay City, that's also traveling at about 68 miles per hour. So our average speeds are still a little bit slower than what they should be, but it's definitely an improvement from earlier this morning. Just as an example, there were many instances this morning where drive times were double what they normally would be. So it definitely took a lot longer to get to work. And of course, nearly all school districts have been closed for today as well. That certainly was pretty slick earlier on. But those drive times are starting to improve. I'd say at this point, maybe just an extra 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how long your drive normally is, but you definitely won't need as much time as earlier this morning. I'll take you back over to the First Alert Pinpoint Doppler here. So we have the snowfall moving across mid-Michigan. Now the system pivoting away from us towards the southeast. And actually the snow that you see there between Chesaning, Bridgeport, Birch Run, and extending over into the southern portions of Tuscola County, like near Fostoria and Mayville, that snow is actually going to continue to sweep towards the south and into our southern counties. So right now around Davison, for example, or even just north of Lapeer, you might be saying, oh, well, we actually have a little bit of a break in the snow right now. Well, there is more still on the way. So again, we still have a couple of hours left for the storm system. So this will just continue to add to these totals just a little bit more. I'll show you your First Alert traffic map. So up north, if you're going to be traveling, say M65 between Whittemore and Hale, you are going to encounter some slower travel there. That's also the case on M55 from Tawas City anywhere to the west, and even on M18 up towards Gladwin, and then even north of Gladwin in the direction of Houghton Lake, you'll be encountering some slower travel there as well. So still, again, just one of these things where, especially on less traveled roads, you are going to need to use some extra time. Into the Bay region, specifically around Saginaw too, still seeing some slower travel developing for us. And it looks like we have one new incident coming in near Montrose. This is on M13. It's actually a road blockage between Ditch and Wilson. Again, that's right near Montrose, so that's a spot that you'll have to avoid for right now too. We have had a number of crashes throughout the morning, certainly because travel has been much more slick. But I'll actually go ahead and remove that text box off the map just to show you that Genesee County, actually, when you take a look at some of these traffic flows, not in the worst of shape. Definitely better than earlier this morning too. So 475 and even 75 around Flint. That is looking much better with these travel times, as well as US 23 near Fenton. If you're going to be traveling near Goodrich on M15, you'll still have some slick spots there, as indicated by some of the yellow coming up on the map. So again, really the key takeaway here with this first alert weather day, and really the large reason why we have declared that first alert weather day with this snow, was just because of the road impacts that we were expecting and some of the school impacts too. And of course we saw that this morning with all of those school closings. So at least some students got to sleep in. This is actually a really great packing snow too. So if students are looking for something to do today on the snow day, it'd actually be a great day to go outside and make some snowmen. So certainly some nice snow for that. And that's all because the snow fell with temps pretty much right near freezing. Now I will say from here, the remainder of the day, we actually are going to cool off even more. So I'll go ahead and take you to one of our graphics here that does show us our temperature outlook for the remainder of the day. With that, really again, our key takeaway is that we'll only get colder from here. So we've already had pretty much our warmest portion of the day. There's that temperature outlook. So you can see we're dropping approximately about 1 degree every hour for the remainder of this Wednesday, and we'll eventually have lows falling down to about 15 degrees for tonight. So actually importantly with that too, given how cold it's going to be tonight, any roads that are untreated or any dirt roads or unimproved roads, especially in less traveled areas or more rural areas, those roads are going to ice over as we go into tonight. So I would still expect some slick areas for those less traveled areas as we go into tomorrow morning. But as far as the remainder of today and really the remainder of this week, it'll be much quieter than now, but temperatures will be turning colder for us once again. So we'll take a quick break here real quick, and when we come back from this break, we'll take more of a look at our shoveling forecast and the hour by hour and what to expect for the remainder of the week. Alrighty, welcome back from that break. We are tracking a much quieter forecast from here even after the last of the snowfall leaves mid-Michigan. So I'll go ahead and take you at least first to our shoveling forecast. So something to keep in mind with clearing the snow here, it is a wetter, heavier snow, kind of like the snow that we had 2 weekends ago. So you will want to take a few breaks, especially if you are feeling a little bit stressed after clearing some of the snow or after you get started with that. So just something to keep in mind. And of course, always stay hydrated. Even though it is cold out, we usually associate staying hydrated with summer warmth. You're still straining your body as you're clearing the snowfall too, especially this heavier snow like this. So good idea to still stay hydrated and keep up on those fluids. But take a look at the shoveling forecast. One thing that I really want to point out for the remainder of the daytime are the wind chills. So we have wind chills that are going to be about 10 degrees colder than the air temp at any given point for the remainder of today because some blustery conditions here are developing. So we'll have this northerly wind, some sustained speeds closer to 15 miles per hour, and then even some gusts could reach up to about 30 miles per hour into this afternoon. So despite air temps that are still going to hover right near the freezing point, at least into the early afternoon, it's still going to feel more like the low 20s or even the upper teens at best. So it is definitely still going to feel cold as we go throughout the remainder of the daytime. So you'll still really want to bundle up for any of that snow clearing that you're doing. But speaking of snow clearing, you should have several inches here to remove off the driveway and the sidewalks. 3 to 6 inches has been our forecast for most of mid-Michigan. The Thumb, the Bay region, central Michigan, and up north. We have that 1 to 4 range for southern areas like Flint and Lapeer and Owasso, Fenton. I'd argue even Beecher and Mount Morris, you're included within that as well, but you are starting to get right on the verge of where we expect to see those totals more so sharply increasing, and that's because of some of the drizzle that has moved through earlier this morning. But that snow that we have currently moving through now, and I'll take you back to the radar actually real quick, This is going to help add to some of these totals sort of one last time here as the system makes its final sweep across our area. So I'll take you to the first alert hour by hour. Notice that the snow will just continue to really drive away from us for the next couple of hours. So by noon today, I would expect the snow to be done in our northern counties. Now here in the Tri-Cities specifically, I do think Saginaw will still have some snow falling at noon. Bay City, that is going to be sort of 50-50 on whether or not snow is still falling at noon, but it's starting to go away still at that point. But Midland, I think the snow will be done by the upcoming noon hour. But during that time, we'll still have snow falling in the Thumb and all across our southern counties. Areas like Fenton, Linden, Metamora, you'll be some of the last to see the snow as we go into the early afternoon, just because of the direction that this storm system is leaving. So by the mid to late afternoon, we expect just a little bit of lingering lake effect. So if you're around Port Austin or Bad Axe, just in the northern Thumb, that's where you have a better chance for that. And even into tonight, a little bit more of a northwesterly wind develops, and with that, that's where we could see some lingering lake effect, especially into Houghton Lake. But really just the usual lake effect belts. This is where your snow chances will start to pick up on a little bit more of an isolated basis as we go into tonight. And actually not only for tonight, but the remainder of the week. We are going to fall back into this lake effect pattern. So of course for the TV5 area, that does mean fairly minimal snow chances. It's really just those usual belts that are going to see the most snow over the next couple of days. Now going into the weekend, we're still tracking some snow shower chances there too, really just some light or scattered chances. It did look like there was a system that was going to try to move in on Saturday, but our latest data has started to actually move that system south and away from us again. So I think more so it's just a lake effect pattern that we'll still have even into Saturday and on Sunday. But take a look at these temperatures going forward from here. So again, right now is the warmest that we're going to be at least until about Tuesday next week. So temperatures will just gradually fall for the rest of today. We only have a high of 26 tomorrow, 25 on Friday. And for the most part, our highs this weekend will really just hold on to the upper teens with single-digit overnight lows. So it will be turning cold again as we go into the upcoming weekend. That is going to keep all of the snow around though. So everything that has fallen since last night and today, that's just going to be sticking around with us for the foreseeable future. Now in the middle of next week, we're seeing some signs that we could have some ridging building in. So this is essentially where the pattern briefly flips around and it allows some warmer air to come in from the southwest. I think it's possible, and it does look like that should take us a little bit at least into milder territory, at least for this time of year. So highs more in the mid to upper 30s by then. That's something that we'll monitor, but at least that's kind of where the trend is heading for right now. So I know that is unfortunate news for some of our snowmobilers and skiers, but in the meantime, we'll still be able to enjoy the snow, especially with the cold weather that we have ahead of us for this weekend. And personally, as a snowmobiler myself, of course, always exciting to see all of the snowfall, and I think we do have a good weekend ahead of us for some snowmobiling too. But of course, your safety is of the utmost importance, so we still want you to drive safely with any of the snow that we still have falling for the rest of today. So I'll take you back to the radar one last time before we wrap things up here with this live stream. So again, we have the snow that's still falling across much of mid-Michigan, especially this heavier band that's in Chesaning right now and extending to the east of there towards places like Birch Run, Fostoria, and Mayville, and even towards the Sandusky areas as well. So as that snow continues to move towards the south, we'll see it winding down a little bit more, and we should see the last of this system snow leaving our area by about the noon or 1 o'clock hour as we go into this afternoon. And again, your afternoon drive or commute back home from work, if you did go into the office today, is certainly going to be much better than it was earlier this morning. Well, we'll have another live stream coming up later today at 2 o'clock, and by then the First Alert Weather Day will be over. And again, from there we'll just have some quieter and just more standard Michigan winter weather conditions for the remainder of the forecast. But until then, we hope you have a great remainder of your Wednesday morning. If you still have to head out too, drive safe.